Welcome to the thisABILITY Adventures podcast. I'm Andrea Anderson.
And I'm Chip Dodd from Team thisABILITY.
Hey, good evening, everybody. It's Doug from ARDotWatch, and we are live from the Adventure Racing World Series. Whoa, look at the light. In Ecuador, joined by Team thisABILITY and ARWS CEO Heidi Muller. How's everybody doing?
Yeah.
We are, as you can see, this is live and truly authentic because we're still getting things set up, but we didn't want to start out too late for everybody. So first of all, everybody, how was the travel getting over there?
Awesome. Yeah.
For us, no problem.
Yeah.
You guys have been there for a couple weeks now, right?
Chip and I have probably been here the longest. It's been about 10 days.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah.
Since the 15th. And we spent, believe it or not, for the AR community, we did 5 or 6 days with JD Eskelson. Mano a mano. It was interesting.
Trace Amigos.
Trace Amigos. That's what we called our WhatsApp group, was Trace Amigos.
Nice. And Caitlin and David, did you guys have any issues getting there? Because I know some teams did, and Heidi, you had some issues getting over with missed flights and changes and stuff. But Caitlin, did you guys bring gear?
Yeah, so David and I basically flew from Atlanta direct to Ecuador, and it really wasn't any issues, no delays with the flights. Gear all made it okay, which we're always crossing our fingers that the bike boxes make it. So yeah, we kind of tested the bikes today and got everything in working order. So we're set.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. And Heidi, so this is the World Championship for ARWS. What does this mean to ARWS and to you?
Oh, well, I think after Africa, you guys were with us last year in Africa. It's been such a big journey, a long journey. I don't even think a lot of people know that it's been 21 years of World Championships for ARWS World Series. And so it's been quite a long journey. And after Africa last year, I really had to take a moment just to digest it all and take it all in and say, okay, great, now we can go to a next destination. And for me, to be at another race directors event like the World Championship, like in Ecuador, and not hosting it is so much more enjoyable.
I can imagine.
I feel I can add so much more value, where if it's your own event, you can hardly connect with teams, you can hardly speak. I don't even think we had a few words last year. The event was so big and so many teams and so many complexities, that each race, have different issues in different countries. So for me to be here is wonderful. I've never been to Ecuador myself. It was a 40-hour trip with a lot of delays. But we are here and the community is so great. I think we have not even started with the race. And I think everybody just, are such a happy unity and family when we meet each other. And every World Championship event, when you sort of unify and you get the world together, you make new connections, you make new friends. You sort of venture a little bit out of your community. So, and obviously for them in the race, they're together now. I've met also new people. But in the event, they might travel with Ecuadorians and local people. And just in that unity, you spread again and meet more people who feel the same like all of us. We might speak different languages and come from different continents. But here we truly come together and realize that, wow, everybody around the world share the love for the sport. And for me, it's very inspiring.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it inspires me and it gives me fuel to go on and instill that passion more into all our race directors and all the events around the world. And I guess that's why events, are also part of our World Series, to be part of that community and that togetherness where we strive to make it better and create better events and, make it better for everybody. So yeah, from a race director's perspective or a race perspective, we actually ultimately share the same goals. But in a nutshell, Ecuador is a unique country that had a lot of challenges. I actually feel, and you guys might agree with me, I felt that there were a lot of teams that did pull out after all the political unrest and problems that were there, was on the news. And I come from Africa, so I know, how a lot of people maybe perceive Africa as well. And I feel now that we are sitting here, you actually feel Oh, bad. Those teams really missed out.
Oh,
Yes.
You know, news, and it is a true thing, actually, what happens, because it just gives you perspective of what news are doing, actually. You know, news create this fear, and we're in the country and in this beautiful city and surrounding areas, and we all know that we are fine. We are safe. The country now is safe. There's no issues. And, you know, sometimes you just need to be a little bit more hardcore and persistent and take things a little bit, you know, with that mentality, and it will work out. And yeah, we all are, and we're going to have a great race. I mean,
Well, I know there's going to be a lot of North American watchers, including the U.S., because we have some very, very strong U.S. teams. Ben Racing is there, right? We've got the team thisABILITY, who is here with us. We've got Awesome Sauce. And Royal Elks. I don't know if I'm missing any full American teams. I think that's the ones that I know.
Yep, you got it.
They're obviously
like Amanda, like our previous teammate,
Yep.
who's also a very strong racer. She's on the team. What's her name?
AR Germany.
AR Germany.
And there's Mary Chandler.
And
Mary Chandler.
who, of course, she's on Bitter. So we've got lots of Americans. Like some of us are free agents, and some of us have a team.
Yeah, no, it's going to be really exciting, I think, for people at home to watch. And I think, you know, we all look at the World Championship as the premier event, right? This is what everybody kind of wishes and hopes for. And like, I know Awesome Sauce, they put a team together with just aspirations of just being there and experiencing it and being a part of this. thisABILITY, like you guys, I mean, this is not your first World Championship. And we've seen you guys get more and more competitive in races. What are your expectations this year for the World Championship?
So it is my first World Series championship. All of them have been, I haven't. And I am probably the most optimistic with my.
You're definitely the one that will not.
You know any better.
Yeah. David will always say that his goal is to win.
That's right. I always want to win. Like, that is always my goal, is to win.
And Mary Chandler's like, bring it.
Wave at her when she goes by at the very beginning.
First 5 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. I'll see her for 5 minutes and that's it.
But seriously, I mean, like, this is obviously this race has gone through. Chip and I, you've talked about some of the changes this race has gone through with like kind of expectations going into it, and then things that have had to change due to differences in the course. But like, how has that changed your expectation of what you're hoping to do?
I mean, you know, we've done this race before, right? Back in 2020 with COVID, everybody had a mask. We were the only international team that came in from a different continent. So we're familiar with the race. The race director, Santi's been doing this, I think, 20 years, I think. So this is I think it's the longest running ARWS race in the world. So we're talking extremely experienced, good crew. The country is amazing. And the funny thing is, Louis Bekdash, who we've raced with, he's been part of our team for a long time. He said, you got to come do this crazy race in Ecuador. It's like the New Zealand of South America or whatever, or the Americas, right? It's the New Zealand of the Americas. And as we were on the bus coming here with Fear Youth, and they're they're looking out the window like, wow, looking at the landscapes. Yeah. Like, I think Ecuador may have one-upped New Zealand in regards to the landscape.
We don't know that yet.
We don't know that yet.
Just Pure Youth is from New Zealand.
Yeah, they're from New Zealand.
You didn't know that.
Right.
So.
But the landscape is like the Grand Canyon is on as the bus was driving here from Quito, it was like a Grand Canyon everywhere you looked. It was amazing. So either way, when it comes down to expectations for the race, it's going to be extremely difficult. That's why we came, on the 15th to get acclimated, which even now we've been here this long. My watch told me today I'm 90% acclimated to this altitude. I think we're going to start the race and go up high and then come down. So teams that just flew in, like these guys, they're going to have a little bit of a problem. I know. But so they're going to have a little bit of a problem because we're going to start off going uphill. It's going to be really difficult. But at the end of the day, we're known to be durable. And that's the thing. We're going to pace ourselves. We're going to go nice and easy. Try not to go off the rails. Look at nutrition, chafing, sleep, all of that. Get to the finish line. Still friends. Doing the best we possibly can, but knowing that we're going to get our butts kicked by a lot of teams, especially the Ecuadorians who live here.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine that being at that altitude all the time gives you a really big advantage, and teams that are coming in that aren't ready for that are going to have to manage that because, I mean, that's going to punch you in the face right from day one, and it could really zap you quickly. Caitlin and David, do you guys have any fears of like that climbing right off the bat and being at that altitude?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough. I mean, I lived in Colorado for 3 years at, 7,000, 8,000 feet. So I've trained at altitude previously. I haven't been at altitude, recently. So yeah, I imagine the first day, is going to be tough. But I do think that as we get going, we'll, sink into a rhythm, and I think it will get easier as we go. But I do anticipate that first day to be a wake-up call.
Yeah. And
Heidi, how is like you've been talking to all the teams out there, I'm sure, because everybody would like to talk to you. What have been the kind of expectations of teams that are coming in from outside of Ecuador?
I think the biggest problem or concern is the altitude. I think exactly what we've just spoken about. You will get quite a big variety between teams that really know that, especially your top teams. They know that you need to have that, 5 to 10 days actually time for acclimatization. It's so important. Ready in order to race. And even the teams who's maybe at 3-4 days, I think they realized that maybe they needed a little bit more time. Maybe 2 days from now when we start, everybody will have a little bit of a better feeling. But I think that's one thing to note, which is also important when we planned this event. Unlike Africa, we made sort of the registration very quickly in one morning, over and done with, where, we deliberately had to sort of make it over 2 days. Where the idea is we're forcing teams to get earlier into the country, and if their bags and things don't arrive, but actually forcing them to force them to acclimatize. Where if the race organizer just said, be on Friday, we register and we do everything very quickly, we're going into flag parade and we start the event, then everybody will just say, oh, it's not as important, or they'll skip it to the last minute. And then at the end of the day, it actually affects your event if the teams are not acclimatized, because it puts the organization under a lot of problems if teams more teams pull out. It's more of a problem. How do we get them to the finish? And how do we continue with an event with so many people dropping out quite quickly into the race? So there's a lot of logistical things, and they brought in a very good point where Africa was very long and flat, and that is why all the races are different every year, which is so unique in the World Championships, and that's the idea of it. But Africa was completely long distances, more flat, different terrain, where we are also having long distances, but flat.
Sorry to hear, yeah.
So we'll have a chat after. But yeah, we have very high altitude and going up and down, so you need to take those things into effect. And it will definitely slow teams down. So I think that is the biggest concern. Of course, the back rafting in the water, that, there's been a drought, so the back rafting leg has been shortened. And now there's kind of rain coming in. There's definitely, from the organizer's point of view, a concern when there's more rain coming in, it will affect your canyon sections and your rope sections. So there's quite a lot of stuff that can happen in this event, which can force changes in the event. So it's complex. It's such a big event, and to go to such remote areas is amazing, but it's not in every race director's, capacity to do it in 2 or 3 years of experience.
Well, and I would imagine, I was just going to say, like, I think that we'll probably see at the beginning of the race, maybe teams kind of understanding that acclimation might take a little bit more out of you that first couple days, and we might see some slower pacing early on.
Definitely.
To get themselves acclimated.
Definitely. And you might, for the people at home, the watchers, might be maybe surprised by seeing some of the top teams. They're not going to go out as racehorses. They're definitely, what I've heard is there's definitely going to be a lot of holding back and stuff just to get over that first big altitude, and the team is okay. So there's a lot of different strategies going. Obviously, in this race, I don't know if your team have discussed it, but there's not really hot water in the race. If you're going to take gas with you and get some hot cooking, food in. So those kind of things is quite interesting to plan into the event as well. There's, like I said, a lot of stuff that can happen. And the ARDotWatch is hopefully going to have lots of fun because it's always easier to sit on the other side.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be definitely interesting on our side. And I know, Chip, you guys always provide me with your kind of expectations ahead of time, so I can kind of set expectations for dot watchers of whether you're ahead or behind, because nobody really knows, right? Like, if you're not used to doing a 7-day race, or this was 8 days, right? Is this 8?
It's changed a couple times. It's 6.5, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Okay.
it's about 6.5. Top teams are expected to be about 100, a little over 100 hours, and then backpack teams, is it still 148?
156
Next
hours.
Friday night is the cut.
Next Friday night is the cutoff. But Doug, what happened today that we didn't know until today? A couple things, or what's not been made public. Although one of the paddle sections were cut, the current paddle section, there is no dark zone, but it is class 2 and 3 rapids. And so
At night?
we went through our training. It was like, we highly suggest you don't pack raft at night, but there is no dark zone. So this is there's no handrails, there's no nothing. It's like, if you're dumb enough to go down the rapids, then you do it. So the competitive teams, for you dot watching, you're going to be, the minute dark comes, do the teams pull over? Maybe they try to walk down a road nearby. Maybe they try to boulder scramble down, or maybe they just shoot the rapids. But it might be a yard sale. It's going to be an interesting strategy on the paddle section, so pay close attention to that. And the next thing we show up, they just told us we had to have a couple things, a sling and some rope. Meanwhile, now we get there and no, you don't understand. You're going to be going down a huge rappel without a wall, and then once you're to the bottom, then you're via ferrata across, and then after that, you have to Jumar back up. So we're having to do this Jumar thing. We had to demonstrate skills, and so all of that is brand new to every team right now. So you might be breaking news. The rock climbing section is going to be
Breaking news here on ARDotWatch.
There's 2 rock climbing sections, but it's going to be a crux of the race because, let's say a heavier person that doesn't have like the arm strength or whatever, they're going to have a hard time Jumaring up, and you're still carrying your mandatory equipment and all of that. So it's up to teams to figure out how do they spread out their equipment, or do we leave gear or take gear. But Jumaring is something that most of us we have done it, but it's not something that you practice going into a race. They did not tell us about this, so nobody's prepared for it.
And also we found out we only have one A bin and one B bin for the entire team. So we have to put, like, all 4 of us have to share an A bin, and all 4 have to share a B bin, and we have to figure out what we're putting in what bin so it's going to get there. And we have to determine our time. So we think, what time will we be getting there? Do we need a tent? Are we going to sleep there? So it is a little bit complex with the logistics.
Absolutely.
What's the weather looking like right now for the race? Like temperatures?
It changed the whole time. I mean, as an adventure racer from my side, I never look because it makes no difference. I only can carry what you have, and that's it. But every day it's kind of been different. We had like beautiful warm weather earlier today, and then there comes some wind and some rain, and then it's a bit chilly. So it's definitely cold at night. I think if they're in the water at night, there's going to be some freezing temperatures.
But it seems similar to all of the weather we've already experienced. We've even heard from local people that they don't report on the news on the weather because we're at the equator and it
just changes
at the whims of, Mother Nature, and seems like things come and go, and we need to be really cognizant of whether there's going to be a flash flood. So we should be, paying close attention to the conditions of what the water's looking like and what we see might be coming downstream, and, get out quickly. And they also said, though, if it rises quickly, it probably will fall quickly, and you just, pull over and wait for it to pass. And
so another thing, we don't have the course yet, but generally the rumor is we're starting here. We're going to go up over the Andes and down into the Amazon basin. So the idea is that everything that's east of the Andes is considered the Amazon basin. So all the water eventually flows the Amazon River. So on this side, it's been extremely dry. So they've had, like, in the last 100 years, this is the driest it's ever been, although it's been raining the last 2 days. So I'm expecting it to be pretty dry, but then when we get up and over and down, I think we get into what they call the cloud forest. So now you have these, basically clouds in a rainforest. Instead of here where it's like dry desert, it's going to be lush trees and vegetation that you can't bushwhack through. So it's going to be interesting. But since we've been here on the 15th, this is the most it's ever rained the whole time. The nights are chilly, but I would say for the Americans, 45 to 55 Fahrenheit. And then during the day, it's been hot, like 75 to 80. But it's always partly cloudy, chance of rain. Every day. Partly cloudy, there's clouds everywhere, chance of rain. It just depends on where the cloud is in the mountain. You don't look at the radar at some big thing moving across the screen. They don't even have radar here. When you look at the weather, there's no radar. It's just partly cloudy, chance of rain.
David, to go back to kind of what you were talking about with the bins, for those of us at home that have done races where it's a 24-hour race and you're like, man, I only have one bin.
For one person.
For one person, right? You guys are going 6.5 days. Now, this includes all of your food, all of your gear, and everything, and you're basically going to get one bin for first half and then one bin for the second half. Is that?
Well, the bins will get mixed up. So at this transition you'll get A, at this one you'll get B, this one you'll get B, that one you'll get A. So you have to plan it, and that's right. One bin at A for all 4 of us, and one bin at B for all of us. I was like, C to C, you get one whole bin.
Yeah, per person. Yeah, per person on your team.
24 hours. They're not going to be feeding us on this race.
No. But we also have a bike box and a paddle bag. So we are allowed to put stuff in both of those. So it really is a matter, let's just say you have a jet boil, you only have one. Is it going A, B, the bike box, or your paddle bag? or do you have 4? Or your backpack and you carry it. But where do you put your tent? We have the mandatory equipment, like a bothy bag, etc. But when you get to a TA and you want to sleep, that's where you put your tent. But we don't have a tent in A and B and the bike box. You have one tent. Because there's a weight limit, So teams, that's another cruxy part of the thing, is a team may have messed up and they put their tent in the wrong bin and then they get to a TA.
Shoes. That happens quite a lot. And I think it's a very good point what you just made. That is part of the intrigueness of such a big event, which people completely might at home don't really understand. The organization, of course, cannot give you so many because they have to transport it over these mountains in muds and rain, and it's just impossible where we're going. I mean, even us as a media, there is no accommodation, there's no power, there's nothing. We're going blind into it for 5 days as well. And that's why some of the lakes are better for you to walk out of a certain lake than us to try to come and rescue you because we can't get to you. So that is kind of those interesting things for people at home you might not understand or know. And same for them. They have to carefully plan to make sure not to put the wrong stuff in what bins, and also maybe think where they would like to sleep or think they would like to sleep. Maybe after a very cold trekking big lake, that might be a good place or whatever. But you can work it all out, and then you get there in the middle of the day, and it's not maybe the right time to sleep. So it is a bit of a give and take, but maybe that is why we all love adventure racing.
Well, and how remote? I was going to say, how remote is this race? Because we've seen some 6-7 day races, especially here in the States. Teams are used to, maybe on day 3 you're going to go through a town where you can stop at a diner or someplace and stop it. Are they going to have that opportunity at any point during the race here? Do we know?
The American folks, as you say, folks, you use that word. Folks, is that the right word?
That's right.
Get there.
It's completely nothing that what you see in American races. And I think that racing in America is completely different. It obviously is a little bit more of a regaining style. Racing, this is more of an expedition style going forward. The aim on these World Championship events are to go to kind of the most remote, safest areas. In this area, they're going to go through a lot of tribal sections or people that doesn't even speak, they speak their local tribal languages.
Wow.
So they might find at those local housing, and I mean that you find in Africa, and you've been racing in Switzerland and all those races, you find those villages, and that is where you do find shelter. They can't speak the language, but they understand when you're in trouble. And if you want food, or they will definitely have a bit of that cultural experience.
That's amazing.
And that is awesome. And that is why you come to those events, because that is why it's unique and it's not like home. So no, they're definitely not going to race in small circles. The map, people, when you see the dot, you'll see it is actually a big, beautiful line. I don't want to knock on
Don't want to give away too much.
Tell me more.
Well, I just think it's just really important, I think, for us to set expectations for viewers and dot watchers who are going to be watching this so they can understand what exactly people are going through.
I think there's two things that people at home definitely need to know, that The one is there's also now a big electricity problem in the country, kind of like what we had in South Africa, load shedding, or there's no power because they need rain, kind of just hydro. They need the power. So there's no generators. There's nothing at the transitions, and that's why they can't get hot water or anything of those things, luxuries. And the other thing is, I don't know if you all know, but there's no fuel in this country. So we have gas, we have no diesel. There is no diesel in Ecuador. We're trying now at this point in time to bring trucks in and diesel to get the logistic trucks to move for the race, because we can't get fuel for this event. So, I mean, it is so remote, and definitely as in a first world country, sitting where you are, it's kind of impossible to understand really how hard it is on the ground to put these things together. And that is what the organizations must handle with, but that is also the teams are in that situation where it's very pure, it's very, and I think it's very humbling. I think when you do these events and you come from your wonderful, beautiful first world countries, it sort of humbles you back a little bit, and just to see how other people live and how other countries survive, and how fortunate you are to live in America, especially, where, none of these things even make sense to you. You can't even understand them. And when you immerse yourself into these environments, and I think it brings everything just a little bit into perspective. And then I think that is maybe the message most probably for viewers at home. You're going to watch it. We might not even get media out. You're going to complain about something not working. The dogs aren't moving. The dogs are not moving. The trackers are not working. It's because they don't have signal, and they're in the middle of the jungle, and we can't get to the teams to get media out. And it's just not a perfect world. But somehow we all cope and we get to the end. And like all the new things that's been flung to them, that is part of the journey. When we had a meeting, especially about this ropes, and I said to them, have you told the teams that there's a Juma, for instance? Not a lot of teams can do it. Beach races, they need to be able to Juma. And I was like, okay, there is nothing like that. And teams that can Juma, well, they've got to, then they can figure it out during the race. They've got a whole day to Juma.
That's true. Yeah.
They've got the whole day to figure it out.
The beautiful thing about
struggling, because we're practicing, there were some people that were really struggling to do it, and I was like, wow, that's going to take them a long time to get up. Yeah.
and imagine if you're exhausted when you get to that point too. Well, you're going to be exhausted when you get to that point as well. So right now you're fresh and it's tough. So it's going to be even harder then. But the beautiful thing about media is that I get to make up what I want to make up. And so I'll try to make it as entertaining as I can for people at home, even if I have to make stuff up, because my brain is I'm going to do posts for thisABILITY for the race, and I'm going to try to put myself in one of the four of your brains for each of those posts.
Oh my God. And there's going to be hurry up shit.
Well, I'll tell you, they don't believe me, but my prediction is top 20. So that none of them believe it, but that's fine. Hey, what happened to Nationals? I'm putting it out there.
All right. Hey, listen.
To be fair, if you reach the finishing line, I think you will be top 20.
How many teams are in the race, Heidi?
Say again?
How many total teams are there in the race?
Well, with the local teams, is the shorter distance race is 72.
Oh, wow.
On the long race, it's around 50. I'm not even sure.
So maybe you're saying full course.
Full course.
Most teams will make it to the end,
You don't-
but only a certain percentage will do the full course.
Yes.
Can you talk about the cutoffs?
Yeah, so the cutoffs, obviously I don't even know the times because I don't look at that, but basically it is worked out for them in order to make the finish. So there is a specific cutoff that we have to implement, because if they're going to go on that certain section forward, we cannot actually stop the team once they went to a certain section. So the first cutoff is not so bad, but the last cutoff is crucial. And then from there, we will just move everybody to the finishing line so that they, by their own means, can get to the finishing line. Because that is the ultimate goal, not to rescue people on the course.
Yeah.
Because with how many teams you're going to rescue. So you are going to shorten them to the other side. But keep in mind, the short course race do finish not, in the course. They finish at a transition, and that's they stop. They basically stop the race at a certain
They're
point.
finished. Okay.
And then the full course is continuing. But you know what? Maybe you should get me on WhatsApp, and when I have signal, I can share with you what's happening.
Absolutely. That way I can give insider information.
Yeah, and I can voice you. I don't know if you're going to get this message, but this is what's happening now, and the teams are in there. The weather has turned bad. Prepare yourself for that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but keeping it real, we've done this race before, and it's very difficult to complete a full course of any ARWS course.
Yes.
And it's just another level here in Ecuador. They let you take your own risks. It's not like America where there's a guardrail along the edge of the trail when there's a steep drop off. No, there's the trail and the steep drop off, and only you keeping yourself from falling over that drop off. So yeah, it's kind of next level. But
we have a kind of a thing in the World Series as well, where we say that you as a racer, there is a self-awareness and a self, you need to self-control and self-make a decision of, do you have the capabilities to do this or not? And that is quite important, and that comes back to the pack crafting section as well. The rapids where there are really danger, there are people, and we will take them out of the water, especially 2-3 rapids, which is a problem. We are putting safety there. But then there might be this odd little, remember in Africa, that first little rapid, everybody just didn't even expect, and most people, everyone was swimming.
Yeah.
It is
part of the fun.
It's part of the fun. We're not going to put safety there.
We don't want it to be easy.
So it is it's impossible to manage, and like you say, put handrails around the whole course at this level. So
Yeah, it's a world championship course, so you want to make it difficult.
Of course, and also I think where the changes came in with the route, in a world championship event, you need to get to at least 100 to 120 hours for your top team. So keep in mind, they had to do cuts. The course was shortened. We re-looked at the times and we said, we have to give it more body because it is a world championship event. And you need to get your top teams at least over 100 hours. Now, the top teams, they, how many hours did you do in Africa?
We took you need to finish this.
But so here's the thing, Heidi, is thisABILITY is so humble, and every time that they continue to get better and better and better, they don't realize how much better they have gotten. Because I've had the pleasure of watching them for the last 2.5 years and being a part of dot watching for them and really watching their progress. And this team right here, I think the sky is the limit. And they just proved that at nationals here in the U.S. And in past races that they have done all together. And I know, and I think everybody else at home that's watching this, that are thisABILITY fans, are excited to see what you guys are going to do and have high expectations for you.
For the friends and family at home, the folks and friends and family at home.
Folks.
Folks.
I love it.
Remember, there's one thing in adventure racing, and I always have to say it over and over and over. It does take maturity in this sport. And that is why maybe it is an older generation which is doing so good, and we really strive to get the younger people in. But it does take it's experience. And it's not experience you can buy. It's you need to race. You need to be racing fit. You need to you guys have been racing everywhere, and the moment when you step outside of your boundaries of America, you realize that there's a whole world of adventure racing around the world, and everybody's a little bit different. And once you start racing in different countries, that's another level of getting experience. Look at the top 10 teams in the world. They race international. They race around the world because you might be fantastic in South America, and then you go to the climate in Europe, and you can't handle that cold and that kind of weather. And then you go to, like I said, all over the world, different races. It tests you, but experience. I mean, look what you guys have in Croatia with all the rain that one year. You can have horror stories of every race you've done.
We've dug
you
deep
know?
in Croatia.
So it is experience, and that is why they are getting better and better and better, because they start making better decisions. They are starting to realize where their strengths are. They start thinking when to sleep and not, and evaluating the race. They start getting a feeling of the race director, and I mean that is where it comes into play. Which I can say to people, you don't need to be the best at the 20K run, but adventure racing is a clever game. You know, it's an intelligent sport. So it's strategic. You need to, there's so many factors that you need. And then, I mean, you still have 4 members, which feels different at different times of the day. I mean, you want to now go to the toilet and you want to sleep and you know tired.
I just want to eat.
So it is a complex sport. I mean, it's unique, and I think that's why we love it, because it is not just straightforward. It is, you need to think and make decisions and think for everybody. And it's just a unique sport, unique people who does it, amazing people who does this sport at this level.
But so I came to adventure racing from triathlon, and obviously, like the World Championship for triathlon in Kona was like that's the mecca, right? So for adventure racing, this is the mecca. This is what people strive for and hope for, that they can build themselves up to. And I think what's super unique about this and what's special for me is that, like, I know people who are doing this, and I feel like I'm part of the family. And so when we're watching at home, we are feeling like we get to be a part of this because you guys are there, and we're living through you and have so much FOMO and like all the things that everybody wants to be there. And so I'm really excited to follow. I mean, my coach is there, Nick Herf. He's racing with Royal Elks. Like, my good friend Jesse is running Awesome Sauce. You guys are here. Like, I have so many awesome friends who are racing the World Championship this year. It's so unique, and I'm super excited. And I know that everybody in the adventure racing world in the U.S. is excited to watch this race. How many of the top 10 teams in the world are there for this race? Are all top 10 here?
All top.
Yeah.
11 is not here. I need to think about it a bit, but I think nearly to 15. They're all here.
So, David, there's your challenge, buddy.
No, we got 5 spots, but we're not in the top 10. We got obviously
Not happening.
not top 15 either. But we can squeak in the top 20. I believe.
In Africa, we would have been happy with top 30, but we ended up like top 60.
I believe. But I will say, Doug, we do think about you guys back home, dot watching. We think all the time, ooh, dot watchers going wild. They love that move. Or, they're like, what are they doing? We're thinking about you. We are thinking about you as we're racing.
Chip, get out transition.
Yeah.
That's what I was just about to say, Chip, is you guys need to make sure Chip is on his game out of transitions.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't let him put anything in the bin, so you're going to fiddle with.
They're going to leave me outside and say, you can't come in because you'll talk to people, so then we'll bring you your food, but you just sit outside the TA. And one other thing, Doug, this is, if it is like the last time we were here, the rules here are different, where you've heard it in adventure racing where they say, never quit the course, make the course quit you. So in this situation, and this happened last time in 2020, you can't skip a checkpoint where your score stops. So so it's consecutive points. So it doesn't matter how good you do in the race. If you skipped 1 point early in the race, you rank below everybody else that got an extra point. So if you skip number 2, any team that went 1, 2, 3,
That has changed.
that has changed.
Yeah.
Okay, so you tell us how it's different.
It is the same rules, ARWS Series rules. It is the same rules like in Africa. So it's the first teams that get all the checkpoints. And then if you miss 1 checkpoint, you'll come under, like what happened to Naturix, they missed 1 checkpoint.
Yep,
So they will come under all the teams that ranked 1 checkpoint. If it's where 2 teams missed a checkpoint, that is where your thing comes in. So what we've determined is if a team skipped checkpoint 2, for instance, and another team skipped checkpoint 50, it's kind of unfair to say you're always in front of that team, the progression rule. So then we will have to determine if both teams skip 2 checkpoints. Is it like, was it a checkpoint next to the road or was it a checkpoint on top of the mountain?
Wow.
Because then you can work out which checkpoint was you maybe skip that checkpoint deliberately
Yeah, strategically.
and 8 hours. So
So there's some subjectivity in
yes,
which
so
one to
you
rank.
should number one never skip a checkpoint.
Right.
Let's have
Okay.
that correct.
But just
It's not-
accidentally
it's
missing
not a
one.
regaining race.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not like a strategic regaining or whatever. You should have like an ARWS World Series. It's an expedition race. You must have all of them.
Okay.
And then if you by accident skip one, it's by accident, not by choice.
Right.
So it should like more be like, okay, well, we skipped it, we couldn't find it or whatever. But then you must know you immediately ranked in another category.
Yeah.
Remember in the olden days, okay, I'm speaking now many years back, maybe before all of you were racing, if you missed the checkpoint, you are disqualified.
You didn't even play.
You didn't play, so you
Yeah.
can take your race book off and you take
Wow.
you from the course. That's how dangerous it was in the olden days.
Wow.
So it's kind of severe. All the old guys who's racing here will always tell all that stories where we all had a race where we've missed by fog came in or it was bad weather conditions and we couldn't find a checkpoint. Or the race director in the olden days put the checkpoint in the wrong place.
Right.
And then we missed it, we disqualified. So especially if another team got it. But in this case, the checkpoints are also like in Africa, not like marked with a flag. That's another thing for America. It's not a orienteering flag. So it's also, and in Africa, we put little boards up. Here, it's completely big church. Mostly, it's the most blessed race because most of it is churches.
It's like
And you have to take
it's a landmark.
And you have to take a photo. And please make sure your camera
Yeah.
doesn't get wet or work. You have at
You have
least
2 cameras. You want to take 2 photos. You lose a camera, you lost all the checkpoints.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
They're on the route.
This is good for sleeping.
A lot of
Oh, yeah.
churches. Isn't it incredible? But they had to get significant landmarks to make these checkpoints because, obviously there's children in the villages and things, and they remove flags and those
Yeah.
landmarks. So to ensure that it is there and not removed, as you cannot take a chance, it is a building, or it's a school, or a church. It's a definite, and the team just need to take a photo in front of that.
Selfie, no less, so that we're all in.
Doug, the good thing about this is because we're going through these small towns, there's going to be tiendas, little stores, and this might just be somebody's house, and they just open it up, and there's some canned goods, there's some chips, there's some Cokes. So it's not a Wawa in the United States or a Walmart. This is going to be
A Buc-ee's? How about a Buc-ee's?
And you give them some cash, and you try to speak the language, you get some canned goods, and you open the canned goods with your pocket knife. And that's how we're going to get food, because there's no way we have enough food for 7 days in a bin when each person only has 1/4 of a bin.
Yeah, I was wondering how you're going to do that.
Yeah.
What does the next couple days look like for you guys and for pre-race stuff?
So tomorrow we are going to hand over our gear. We've already checked in, so we need to hand over the gear. We have the option to do that between 12 and 5 tomorrow, which is our goal. We could turn it in also on Friday, but we just kind of want to get it out of the way. And then Friday we have the opening ceremony and the flag parade. So a little bit of pomp and circumstance. But also tomorrow's Thanksgiving. So we've coordinated with the other Americans here to have a dinner together at a local restaurant. And
That's awesome.
have a reservation for, I think, 28 people at this point. So we've included some friends that are not American, but don't mind having dinner with
But she
us
said
at
smoke,
Thanksgiving.
so she can come.
Yeah.
50% American because ARWS Series are registered as a company in America.
Oh, there you go.
American company, so I think that qualifies.
We'll take you, Heidi. We'll take you.
Yeah.
Well, and then-
Vibe me.
Another drink, Heidi. Tell me about those churches.
So what time does the race start on Saturday for people?
7 a.m. it
7 a.m.
says.
Yeah, 7
7,
a.m.
okay.
Saturday, and then we've got to be off the course by the following Friday at 7 p.m. So almost a full week on the course.
But they don't need to worry about it. We will cut them.
We will not be cut. No.
Make sure you don't get cut.
Yeah.
So Before we finish up, I want to give you guys an opportunity to kind of individually say like what this race means to you for people back home, because I think it's important for them to know that they're on your mind, that what you have on your mind going in. David, I'm going to start with you, and we'll work our way across because I don't want Chip to cry right at the beginning.
Already starting.
So for me, like this is my first big international race. And it's so awesome to be with Team Disability that they took me in and we're doing this together. So I feel like, I mean, just to have the opportunity to be on the stage, because if it wasn't without them, I wouldn't be here. And then I'm at this place with all these amazing teams. I'm seeing all the all-stars, and some of them even know me because they see me on the podcast. I'm like, what? You know who I am? It's really an amazing event where I'm seeing all the teams. And to be in Ecuador, especially to me, I actually lived in the city in Cuenca for 6 weeks a couple of years ago. So it's like coming back to a little home of mine. So to do the race here is just amazing. I love Ecuador. It's a beautiful country. Everyone should come visit it.
And who are you going to be thinking about during the race?
Oh, my family mostly, and the dot watchers too. But yeah, my wife and kids, and my mom who will not sleep the whole time. She will stay up the whole time watching that dot. So
Make sure mom's going to have a Ben sitting right next to her just for you. Kayla, what about you?
Yeah, so I raced last year in South Africa at the World Championships, and that was just a really incredible event all around. And so I'm really excited to be here again at the World Championships. This is my first race in South Africa.
Or Ecuador.
In Ecuador, and Ecuador has really such a rich history in adventure racing. And as an outsider, you wouldn't really think that, Ecuador is like the adventure racing capital of the world. But really, they probably have the most races. As far as the 20 years go, that most countries. So it's really neat to be here. And so super competitive field this year. So it's going to be really fun to be out there with all the teams. And so, we're really excited to get started. So I'm my family's been asking for the tracking link, Doug. So send it out when you get it because they'll want a dot watch
Tonight. Doug, I'll send you the link as well.
Awesome. All right, Andrea.
I know this question is just supposed to make us cry.
There's always a goal.
Right. Well, of course, I'm always thinking of my family when I'm on the course. This race in particular, I'm missing Thanksgiving with my kids. So that's, it's kind of hard. But I'm hoping, especially my daughters, they're both in college, I'm hoping that they are seeing just the example of being able to make sacrifices for the things that are really important to you, and that they might be different than what's important to everyone else, so I hope they see that and understand. And of course, I hope they know that how much I'm thinking of them and love them dearly. And yeah, they keep me going when I'm feeling low in the races.
Yes! Yes!
You did it! You got it! You got it!
So Chip's gonna cry now because he has kids.
All right, Chip. We saved the biggest waterworks for last.
Did Grace give you a letter?
No.
Oh, Grace didn't give her a letter. We're screwed.
All right, Chip. Your turn.
So I'll start off. But I was inspired coming here because we spent a lot of time with Fear Youth. So these kids are in their teens and 20s. And I'm looking at it going, we've had our careers, we've got all this experience, we finally have enough experience, money, time, like our kids are grown, and we can come do this stuff for 2 or 3 weeks. And then to see these kids that are doing it, and they're, 18 to 22 or something like that, I'm like, they're where we've busted our ass to get to this point. They're starting their adult life doing what we're doing today. And so I was inspired by that, and I'm thinking everybody out there, teach your kids to adventure race, get them involved early so that they are wired for the idea is that, we have enough money to do almost anything that we want to do in the world, and we choose this. And these guys have that today, and they're starting their life doing that. So I think it's just, I wish everybody's kids could do this and in their teens and 20s come to the World Championships and be competitive. So I was just so inspired by them, and I hope there's more younger teams that get involved in adventure racing. And of course, I got to talk about my dad. My dad's watching this, and he is going to be dot watching. He's not going to be sleeping. He's going to be waking up. He's like, "Don't die." And this same team did an expedition in Alaska. We think we're gonna see a bear as we go around the corner on the bikes. Don't die. So that's the goal. We're going to try to get this team to the finish line. No injuries, smiling faces, hopefully top 20, and not get cut. Many churches, we're going to pray every time. No.
Well, I know your dad's definitely going to be messaging me. I think every race he messages me with stuff, and we're welcome, Mr. Dodd. Message away. Anybody's friends and family, go ahead and message. It's fine. Heidi, what are you most looking forward to in this? And obviously you're going to be very busy handling the media, but what are you looking forward to the most?
I've got all the emotions they have. I think I've been racing how many years myself, and the sacrifices as well to work with ARWS and all the race directors, and everything. The bucket always stops with me, and challenges and all the problems and keeping it together. I think there's different views I have on this. For if I put the CEO hat on, it is to have a blessed race for everybody, because the race directors have put their life into it. There's a lot of sponsorships and things that don't go through for them, so financially it's not the greatest event for them, and yet they didn't pull out with all the difficulties. And they've been doing this for 20 years, to sacrifice 20 years of their life to organize every year a race, not skipping one, through all the hard times, show you truly their love for the sport and how much investment they've put back into it for so many years. And from their side, it's just I hope it just works out for them, whether and all these things that happen. So they have the dream of coming to the finishing line, and we have the dream of having a successful event, and an event with no problems. The worst thing is when you do so much for an event and then there's some penalties and rules and problems you have to sort out. And I always say that, and I will say it again at the opening ceremony. Can we just have a clean race? Can we just have a clean, beautiful race for everybody so that we can treasure the sport that we all love? And yet, when they all do the sport and come to the finishing line, they inspire everybody at home. So it's kind of a back and forth inspiration. They inspire all of us and give us energy to do it more. And all the other race directors also get, again, inspired. And the media and volunteers and the referees, everybody that's involved with such an event. And that is why men's racing was so positive. I mean, it is just so inspiring. Like Chip and I said, we look at the young guys and we think, how amazing is that? So in the light of that, that is why it was my big dream to put a Youth World Championship together for the future, so that we can start instilling for the youth these big dreams and to say, I'm the Youth World Champion. That should be our next dream. That is the place where we as elders should say, we want to sort of share our knowledge and give to the younger ones and start getting them to be living this life and give this inspiration and partnerships and sponsorships. So I want a blessed race for everybody's sake. They want to get to the finishing line. They're going to go through such highs and lows. They are going to have to endure this week. Now everybody's laughing, but there's going to be a lot of tears and a lot of pain. Most of the race is so much suffering. I mean, it's so immense. And yet they come afterwards, you come to the line and it's like giving birth, like you come to the line and you forget about it. I mean, you forget about all the pains, and we make jokes about the races. So if you just in the race can realize that this pain is just for now, and it will be better a few days from now, you're going to forget all about it, and then you can push through. And yet, every race you do, for me, my wish is just like when teams come to the finishing line, that something happened to them in that race. That there was that moment, or that sunrise and that sunset, and that moment where they helped each other or they experienced something. That fire stays within them, that they want to do another one. And that is the most important thing. And that is how we're going to continue growing the sport, if we all can have that desire the whole time in our hearts. So from my side, I mean, I'm talking to them now, but everybody at home, the wish is for a very successful event. Because believe me, when everything goes wrong, it all comes to me.
Well, I feel that from that answer, I feel like we're already in church, because I feel like, honestly, though, I think that's what we all want, right? Like everybody at home, I know we all just want everyone to be safe. We want you to have an amazing experience. I mean, that's the last thing I said to Jesse when I talked to him this week on Awesome Sauce. I was like, man, just go have fun. And just enjoy every minute. I know we're going to enjoy every minute. Here on ARDotWatch, we're going to be covering Team thisABILITY's race, and also trying to give you coverage of the U.S. based teams as well. We're going to do probably 2 or 3 posts a day, maybe do a live during the week just to talk about it. I might try to get Jeff from AR Insider to sit down with me, and we'll do some dot watching analysis as we're talking. And Heidi, I will definitely hit you up on WhatsApp, and if you have a moment, we'll do a little recording, and we'll try to put it out for people just to give a live update from you to people here in the U.S. Guys, we are excited to watch you.
Yeah,
What's that?
Starlings, of course. So maybe I'm the Starling girl. We are together. We
And
friends.
look at this. Andrea Beckdash, Lewis's wife, she gets her own chipper Starlink because we brought this in case because both of us need to work from home, so we have an extra one. But we're giving this to Andrea.
So Andrew's going to be my best friend.
It's gonna be your best friend. So Doug, if you need Andrea or if
Well, I'm going to be hitting Andrea up too. Yeah.
Andrea has a Starlink as well.
Well, guys, we're excited for you. We know that you've worked so incredibly hard to be here. We're all very proud of you. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. I'm glad that everybody is going to get to watch this and see this, and all of your fans at home are going to get to see all the smiling faces now, because those will be hit or miss during the race, I'm sure. But you guys stick around for a second. Everybody at home, we'll see you on the next Dot Watch. Everybody get out there and live the adventure, and you're going to live it through us this week at the ARWS World Championship in Ecuador. Thank you, guys.
We hope you enjoyed this podcast. Please take a moment to leave a rating and a comment.
If you have a question for the next mailbag segment, call 757-354-4795 and leave us a voicemail or a text with your name, city you are calling from, and your question.
To find additional content, including the video versions of these discussions, you can search for thisABILITY Racing on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram.
We hope this podcast inspired you to focus on your abilities and plan your next adventure.
See you on the trail.